So this is a kind of strange presentation because it starts with some of the reasons why I wanted to see the film and to see it again. And then it becomes complicated because seeing it again and then also seeing the exhibition yesterday has really given me more thoughts about the film that I haven't yet been able, am I speaking properly? That I haven't really been able to completely understand myself. So it's a bit of an essay in every sense of the word. Anyway, to start, I selected Golden 80s as my contribution to the Chantal Akerman carte blanche accompanying the exhibition Chantal Akerman Travelling. I'd only seen the film once, some time ago. My detailed memory was hazy, but I'd been deeply impressed by the film's mastery of cinematic style, particularly of continuous movement, highlighting the specifically cinematic fusion of movement of the camera and the movement of figures in front of the camera. Here, Chantal Akerman seems to have consciously thought about, considered the point of the great musicals of film history, from, say, Busby Berkeley to Jacques Demy. Her film highlights the way that the musical fuses movements, camera and figure, as I just said, in a way that points it out that it's specific to cinema as such. In a sense, a cinematic sublime, as it were. But to achieve its true essence, these movements must be carefully choreographed. Rhythm and pattern are essential for the final triumph of this, I said cinematic vision, because I couldn't think of the right way of putting it. Anyway, I'm not sure if I thought about all of that when I saw the film some time ago, but my memories and my thinking about it now have kind of come together. I was also a little sad that it came to be known that Golden 80s had not been the success that it might have been, and possibly that Akerman had hoped for, or that the film deserved. So I wanted to go back to it, the Golden 80s, and think about it again. To tell the truth, I'm still thinking. And although I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity to think again, this presentation will consist of only preliminary thoughts, speculations that I might develop over time. So, Golden 80s, a big budget musical, or big budget compared to Akerman's other films, set in a galerie, inspired, I'm told, by the Galerie de la Toison d'Or in Brussels, but recreated in a Paris film studio. It took Akerman and her partner in Paradise Films, 𝗟 𝗣𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗍𝗍, some time before they could get the production on the road, which was finally produced in 1986. And during this development process, Akerman experimented with the formal implications of this shift in her filmmaking towards melodrama, music, emotion. So of the films that she made in between, conceiving of the film and actually achieving the film, I would mention the extraordinary Toute une nuit, made in 1982, where she rehearses themes of amour fou, erotic indecision, loneliness, abandonment, but also using tableau, song, dance, highly gestural performance to create a completely new and minimalist form of melodrama. Then I think also from this period belongs 𝗚់𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗀𝗀, which I haven't seen, but I believe also contains moves towards golden 80s. Most of all, the extraordinary 80s. Is it called the 80s?
In English, les années 80 in
yes.
80s in
les années 80. Which is a more specific and actual rehearsal for golden 80s. And so a lot of you have probably seen it. I saw it for the first time yesterday in the exhibition, and I couldn't move from the screen. It was so amazing seeing the way in which Akerman was rehearsing the songs that were going to be the key songs of the golden 80s film. But what I was particularly struck by was her involvement in rehearsal. So the process of the process of actors and actresses appearing, taking up a part, only to be replaced by somebody else doing exactly the same thing. Also, the way that the songs could be developed by the performers gradually. The amazing performance with Chantal Akerman actually conducting in front with her back to the camera, like a beautiful silhouette, energized, almost like a kind of marionette, with the song starting, stopping, starting, stopping. And then once it starts, she won't let it stop. She keeps continuing the performance until you feel that the actress must be completely exhausted. Not Chantal Akerman, no energy missing there. But the auditions, so the presence of the auditions and the fact that she enjoyed the repetition of the auditions enough to not only obviously film them, but to turn them into a film of a really, truly vital and experimental kind, in which the moment of registration of the audition is poignantly felt. Also, at the same time, you can see the way that she was experimenting with figures, men, women, walking for the camera, sometimes walking full figure, 2 figures at a time, 3 figures at a time, crossing each other, dancing, sometimes just feet crossing the space. And again, a kind of repeated rhythmic pattern kind of building up around the gestural nature of the human body and its choreographic potential. So I've been thinking about these preparatory works. Also, it inspired me to go back and think a bit more about Jeanne Dielman, which is obviously a film that I know much better. So these themes started to set off some thoughts in my mind. The first one was about a constant, Marilyn might say, obsessive theme of repetition. The repetition of the auditions, the repetition of the human movement. But also, I began to think that it exists on several levels. The whole drama of Jeanne Dielman is, in a sense, posited on the fact that Jeanne can repeat every moment of her day absolutely precisely and with complete precision. And we, the spectators, learn that repetition as though it was drafted for us, drawn for us on a grid of time. And then, of course, due to the acte manqué, as Akerman puts it, the repetition pattern goes off key and the whole story unravels. But what I was interested in is how important repetition is, and how important it is also in the formal aspects of the film, so that when Jeanne goes in or out of a room, she turns on and off the lights. So these become repeated kind of visual, formal themes. And then in the 80s, the rehearsal of songs and so on. Then as well, seriality and sequentiality, how chorus lines and dance are essentially a serial form with repeated movements. And the way in which these themes are then built into Golden 80s, using the mise-en-scène of the hairdresser, where the series of basins for the hairdressers, washing, tending, etc., make a kind of linear pattern across the room, which then produces the line of young women who become the chorus line with the repetition of song and dance and so on. So with this linear, this seriality, sequentiality also moves up to another level of narrative theme, so that when the news, the catastrophe, the news of the catastrophe breaks out, gossip literally moves from young woman to young woman, as they say, 𝗟̀ 𝗣𝗿𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗀, from girl to girl, goes right the way down the line. So here again, there's a rhythm and a pattern that underlines the whole structure of the scene. Cliché. In the 70s, at a time when we feminist film theorists were rejecting Hollywood, we held on to the Hollywood melodrama and the films of Douglas Sirk. And we particularly thought it was important that the way in which they used recognizable, familiar images like cliches, which you could read from the screen without being a sophisticated interpreter of human life. And I feel that there's a way in which Akerman kind of also produces in her films the familiar, the recognizable, the known, and again that this relates back in Jeanne Dielman to the fact that the gestures, or Jeanne's gestures, her domestic gestures, are all recognizable, familiar, categorizable, and so on. So there's a way in which I'm trying to say that this most original and extraordinary original of directors actually avoided originality and was more, in a sense, inspired by the familiar gestures of everyday and of popular culture. So I'll just come to my last two points. I was really interested in the interview when she describes, she's asked by, who is the interviewer? Jan de Kock, yeah. Who says, what kind of genre of humor do you like? And she says she likes le plat, and she likes les platitudes. She says she doesn't like comme she says she doesn't like esprit, sophisticated wit. She says she likes this plat. Now, we've had several conversations today trying to translate plat into English, and we haven't succeeded, have we, Danny? No. But I hope it's something that you understand, and I think it's a very subtle idea. It's a lack of pretension, and again, a play with the familiar. And again, I think the concept of the familiar and familiarity is important in all kinds of psychoanalytic ways, which I won't actually go into now, because you're all going to want to say, why is Laura talking for such a long time? And we all want to see the movie. But the last thing I wanted to say is that the film is driven by two particular themes, love and commerce. And these are the kind of engines, or rather I'd put it a different way. I think love is the engine that kind of drives the story forward. And Akerman beautifully uses, again, existing iconography like the femme fatale, the love returned from the past, the love at long distance across continents, and again, all are familiar, all are known to us, but the way that they're told and reproduced is something formally and emotionally special. And the commerce, I think, is really significant because it seems to evoke the way in which, when we were talking about this at lunch with Marilyn, talking about the way in which commerce creates a network of everyday life, in which you're no longer an isolated individual, but you're part of a community, in which commercial exchange, the exchange of money or the exchange of goods, gives you a place within society. And in some way, the film is leading towards that at the end. Now, I thought I had nothing to say. I have lots more to say, but I think I better stop.
And La Paresseuse, you
What?
also chose a short film.
Oh, La Paresseuse. Now, that is a bit of a problem, La Paresse, because I had a vision of it which was incorrect. So when I saw the film in the museum yesterday, it was completely unlike the film that I remembered. And so what I loved about my memory of La Paresse was its repetition again, that Chantal Akerman is lying in bed. She says, to make a film, you have to get up, you have to get dressed. But she's so lazy, and you just see the process of her getting up, and then you have the wonderful cello from Sonia kind of interrupting each thing. And as I remembered it, she goes back to bed and says the same thing all over again, and you realize that she's too lazy to have made any more film than this little bit of film that you're seeing. But I'm not sure if that's the case.
Okay.
Anyway, whether I'm right or whatever it is, it's a beautiful, beautiful little film. And again, kind of reminiscent of La Chambre, starting with the exploration of the room, Chantal Akerman in bed, etc. Thank you for being so patient.